In this video, we're going to look at trading the over 2.5 goals market on Betfair. It's one of the most liquid markets on the betting exchange. However, it is not an easy market to trade and many newbies approach this in the wrong way. And by the end of this video, you're going to have a very, very good idea of how to trade the over 2.5 goals market profitably. So coming up in this video, I'm going to show you how you're going to approach trading over 2.5 goals. I'm going to show you the most common newbie mistakes. And of course, I'm going to reveal the big secret behind maximizing your profits on the over 2.5 goals market on Betfair. Let's get into it. So before anything, let's take a quick look at the market behavior that is expected on the over 2.5 goals market. Now, if you've ever traded the under 2.5 goals market and you saw that video, then you'll know that from kickoff, the price decreases on the under 2.5 goals market. So here you can see the price on unders is going down. Now let's flip it and have a look at the over 2.5 goals market. Now this is what we're focusing on in this video. Now, as you can see, it's the complete opposite. Over 2.5 goals, once the match kicks off, the price rises. It rises and rises and rises until there is a goal, and then it shoots down. So you can see that the aim of trading the over 2.5 goals market is to be in the market before a goal is scored. And once a goal is scored, that price is going to go down and you can lock in a profit. You can lock in a profit from there. So that is something to keep in mind. But that is what probably leads me on to the first newbie mistake when it comes to trading over 2.5 goals. And the first newbie mistake would be backing over 2.5 goals before the match has actually kicked off. This is Wolves against Hull. And as you can see, if I wanted to back over 2.5 goals, I'm probably going to do so at 2.06. Now, the match has just kicked off. But let's wait 5 minutes and we'll see what price is available at that point. So 5 minutes gone in this match between Wolves and Hull. And as you can see already, the price on over 2.5 goals has risen. And we could probably back over 2.5 goals there at 2.2, maybe even higher if we put in an order. And as you can see, it's already started to move up that way. So really, there isn't really any reason why you would back over 2.5 goals right at kickoff. You could just wait 5 minutes and get a much better price. I mean, if a goal was to go in the first 5 minutes, then yes, you may have missed the opportunity there. But there are hundreds, if not thousands, of football matches that are in play every week on the betting exchange to trade. So I would not be too worried about missing an early goal because I'll just move on to the next match. So we're 6 minutes in and already, look, we can get a price of 2.24 on over 2.5 goals, which is a fair bit better than the starting price, as you can see. And of course, this price is only going to get better as time moves on. And to further emphasize this, I mean, look at the price now. It's 10 minutes gone in this match, Wolves against Hull. And the price on over 2.5 goals is already now available at 2.54 to back. Let's try and bring up this chart. But yeah, I mean, that pretty much shows you the big advantage you've got. We could just wait 11 minutes for a substantially better price, which just shows you should really never back right at kickoff. Always wait just the first 5-10 minutes. You're going to get a much, much better price doing it this way. But let's step back just a moment just to look at another example of how some newbies go wrong before they've even approached the market. And that is in the pre-game research, by looking for the wrong things with the pre-game research. Now, if you are doing your pre-game research before you enter a trade, you're already doing something right, because you should always be doing some sort of pre-game research before you get involved in any markets. However, you need to be looking for the right thing. Now, this might surprise you, but I would say with pre-game research, when you want to trade the over 2.5 goals market, don't focus on whether the match will finish over 2.5 goals. Now, you might be thinking, what? Now, that doesn't make sense. But remember, as football traders, we're not looking for this. Well, I wouldn't say we're not looking, but we're not worried about whether this match is actually going to finish over 2.5 goals. What we're looking for is a way to exploit the market behavior that we looked at. We know that that price is going to rise and rise until a goal goes in, then that price is going to crash, and that is how we're going to make a profitable trade. If I'm worrying about whether the match is going to finish over 2.5 goals, then I may as well just put my money in the market and leave it there as a bet. There are some football matches which have all 3 goals in the final 10 minutes, and that's not ideal for what we're trying to achieve when we're trading the over 2.5 goals market. So when you're doing your pre-game research, I do see a lot of newbies getting bogged down about whether they feel a match is actually going to finish over 2.5 goals. It might well finish over 2.5 goals, but like I said, if those goals come really late, then you could end up losing your trade, even though you were right, even though the match actually does finish over 2.5 goals. So really, what you need to be thinking about when you do your pre-game research, if you want to trade the over 2.5 goals market, is this is a big tip here. You need to look for home favorites that tend to score in the first half. That's what we need. Ideally, we need an early goal. We need a goal in the first half if we want to be able to profit on the over 2.5 goals market, because otherwise that market is going to be moving against us, and yeah, it just turns into a big gamble. So if we want to trade this market profitably, when you do your pre-game research, try and look for home favorites that tend to score in the first half. I mean, if they score and they concede in the first half, then that's probably just as good. But I always tend to focus on the home favorite because that's the team that is going to be controlling the game in most aspects. So look for home favorites that tend to score in the first half, because if you want to trade this market profitably, then you're probably going to need a goal in the first half. And here's just a quick example. This is a match from the English Championship. It's Wolves against Hull City. I'm currently on soccerway.com just looking at the statistics. So what we're going to have a look at is we're going to see Wolves' recent home form. They are the favourite in this match. And you can see already, I mean, it does look like there's frequently goals in their matches. And if we were looking for over 2.5 goals, then, you know, as a bet, then this is probably a good match for it anyway. But as traders, we want to see that Wolves can get on the score sheet early on. That's exactly what we're looking for. So here you can see, you can actually just look at the goal timings here. And you can see Wolves in this match scored in the 15th minute. They scored in the 40th minute there, 14th minute in that match, the 12th minute in that match, the 5th minute in that match, and then in this one they didn't score, but they did concede in the first half as well. They actually conceded 2 goals in the first half. So it gives us an indication that Wolves, when they play at home, there tends to be goals in the first half. There tends to be early goals. So that would definitely make the shortlist for the type of match I would want to trade over 2.5 goals on. But of course, there's much, much more to it. So let's look at another common newbie mistake. Now, earlier on, you saw that the price does rise very quickly at the beginning of the match. So you could just wait 5 minutes or 10 minutes and get a much better price than if you just went in a kickoff. So that's great. But a common newbie mistake is this one. Once they see the price they want, they go in and they back their full stake all at once. And this is a bit of a mistake because this market is constantly moving against you. And if you want to be able to profit when the goal goes in, because that is the whole reason you're getting involved, you need the odds to go lower than your entry point. Now, of course, depending on the time the goal goes in, those odds might not be lower than your entry point, especially if you backed your full stake all at once. So really, here's a pro tip. And this is something we do a lot within Ultimate Football Trading. It is you split your stake up. You enter the market as the price rises, and you're actually taking advantage of the price rising. I mean, as time goes on, that price is getting higher and higher, which is a good thing. You have to see that as a good thing. Some newbies get in the market and see that price moving against them, and they almost get scared by it. But really, you need to have that as your friend. That price is going higher and higher, and it's just offering you a better opportunity. So you could split your stake up. You could just split it in half. You could put 50% in at the price you wanted, then 50%, say 50 ticks higher. You could split it into 3. You could split it into 4. You could split it into 10. But as long as you do split it up and get those higher prices, as they arrive. And as I mentioned, that's something we do a lot with the Fireball method and the Fireball Reloaded within Ultimate Football Trading. Let's just look at a quick chart to see why. So this was Fulham versus Leeds, and you can kind of see already how this match played out. So around here is where, well, this is before kickoff. The match kicked off and the price rose. So, I mean, you could have waited. I'm just guessing here, but this is probably after about 10 minutes that the price was already at 1.75. So you could have put 50% of your stake in at 1.75, then put 50% in at 2. And then the goal came and the price went into 1.50. Now, if you went in 100% at that price, which I think is around 1.60 for the starting price, then by the time the goal went in, and the goal went in around the 30th minute in this match, then you've only gained like 10 ticks there. 10 ticks, as you can see. If you waited and just got it in at 1.75, then you've gained 25 ticks. But by breaking up the stake and putting it in at different points, the highest point there would have been around 2.30. Then you're putting yourself in the best position to make the biggest possible profit. And to be honest, the aim of this market is to get the highest price possible that you can before the goal comes and before it gets pushed in. Obviously, no one is a psychic, so you're never going to be able to do that all the time. But like I said, by breaking your stake up, you're putting yourself in the potential position for that to happen. And of course, once you're in the market, you need to know what to do to get out. So let's look at some exit strategies that you can employ once you're trading the over 2.5 goals market. Now, when a goal goes in, you pretty much have two options. You can cash out for a profit instantly, or you could remove all your liability from the market and have a free bet if the match then finishes over 2.5 goals. I mean, it really depends on how the match is playing out to really tell you which is the best option. If a goal goes in and the favorite has fallen a goal behind, then I would be very tempted to just remove my liability and leave it as a free bet, because you probably have to fancy the favorite might score 2 goals. I'd also look at the time on the clock. If it is a pretty early goal and there's still an hour left to play, then that's plenty of time to get the 2 more goals needed. And of course, you're always going to make more money when you just remove the liability and take the free bet option. But of course, when you're in doubt, especially when you're a newbie, I always do suggest just cash out for a profit and, try and move on and just get to grips with the market. But of course, what do we do when there are no goals? Now, this is where it gets tricky, and you have to be very disciplined, because when there are no goals, when you've got involved in the over 2.5 goals market and there are no goals, very frustrating. You need to have the discipline to cash out for a loss at a predetermined exit point. Now, if you're getting involved in the first half, you might want to say, I want to get out at halftime. It could be the 60th minute. It could be the 75th minute. The longer you leave it, the bigger the loss. But of course, the longer you leave it, also the chance of a goal going in and you still making a profit. As you can see, this is not an easy market to trade, that is for sure. But as long as you have your predetermined exit point and you stick to that. So if I got involved at 10 minutes, I might just say, okay, I'm getting involved in the market for the first half. I'm going to split my stake in 2. I'm going to back at 10 minutes. I'm going to back at 20 minutes. If there isn't a goal by halftime, I'm getting out for a loss. And that's a fair plan. Don't be tempted to let it run, because then you may as well just be having a bet. You may as well just be having a bet. And there's a big difference between trading and betting. You don't really want to just be mixing it up willy-nilly. You want to keep your betting to your betting, and when you're trading, keep your trading to your trade, and that is for sure. So those are your options there, and as long as you have your discipline, it's very, very easy for newbies to kind of skip out on that and just say, okay, look, there's no goals so far, but if I just stay in a little bit longer, or do you know what if I add more to my stake? And it just ends in tears. So try and have your predetermined exit point and have the discipline to stick to it. So hopefully there you've got quite a few pointers now about how to trade the over 2.5 goals. So let's take a look at what I feel is the secret behind trading this market profitably in the long term. If you want to do well at this market, what you need to do is you need to spot when the markets are wrong. That's what you need to look for. Well, if you can spot when the markets have it wrong, that is when you're going to find value, and that is how you are going to profit long term when you're trading over 2.5 goals. So let's just get into this in a bit more detail. So in order to find times when the market is wrong, you're going to look for matches where under 2.5 goals is a strong favorite at kickoff. So we're talking 1.70 or 1.60, 1.50, anything lower than that on under 2.5 goals. That means that the markets are not expecting many goals in this match at all. So they're heavily expecting this match to finish under 2.5 goals. And that should give us a nice generous price on over 2.5 goals, which could be 2.50, 2.60 or above. So that is a good place to start already. So you're going to look for those matches where under 2.5 goals is a strong favorite at kickoff. And while the under 2.5 goal outcome is the strong favorite, what you're going to look for is when the in-game action tells you otherwise, and the in-game action tells you to expect goals. Now, I can think of many examples when this happens. Now, it doesn't happen often. Most of the time, the market is just going to have it right. And if they're expecting it to finish unders, it's probably going to finish unders, yeah? But from time to time, you will be watching a match and you might be fully expecting it to finish unders as well. But then all of a sudden, the match starts on fire. It's end to end. It's clear that the markets have it wrong. Both teams are going for it, and a goal is inevitable. One sign to look out for that the markets might have it wrong is, as you know, with the market behavior, the unders price goes down, the overs price goes up. And a sign that the markets might just have it wrong is when all of a sudden the price doesn't rise or doesn't go down. The prices kind of stick around for brief moments in play, which, you know, could only be 5 minutes or 10 minutes, but that is a pretty good sign that the markets are unsure about the way the match is developing. And in something like the World Cup especially, you're going to see a lot of matches where under 2.5 goals is heavily favored, and you could easily see starting prices on under 2.5 goals at 1.40. Easily 1.40, and so over 2.5 goals can easily have a starting price of 3.0. It could easily be 2-1 on over 2.5 goals. And there's a reason for this, because in the World Cup there are a lot of tense matches and the goal expectancy is a bit lower. But if you're watching the action and all of a sudden you see both teams going for it, then that could be a good time to get involved on the over 2.5 goals market, because there could be some value there all of a sudden. So it might sound counterintuitive, but yeah, what you really need to do is look for the matches where under 2.5 goals is a heavy favorite, and just look for a fast start. Look for signs that there might actually be goals, and that is where you will find your value in this market. So I hope you've enjoyed checking out that video, and if you like this video and anything else, then remember to subscribe. Hit that subscribe button and also hit the notification bell so you get all the new videos when they come out. Also, remember, check the links in the description of this video for a free gift if you become a subscriber too. Here's some new videos to watch as well. Check those out, and I'll see you in the next video.